September 25th, the new Fox Tuesday kicks off with New Girl's new season. Then welcome Ben and Kate.
Stay away from my sister before you find out what 6 years of Krav Maga feels like. Well, like year and a half plus like 4 years on and off I was traveling.
Followed by another all-new New Girl.
What am I looking at here?
Pure, unadulterated friendship.
And the Mindy Project.
Can't believe you're tattling.
Tattling is when a little girl does it, okay? When a hot woman does it, it's called whistleblowing.
The new Fox Tuesday, premieres September 25th on Fox.
You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's LA Complex After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's LA Complex After Show.
What's up, guys? Bing is for doing, and we are here doing the final LA Complex After Show for this season, hopefully. But we're super excited. I just got through watching both episodes for the first time because I didn't watch it live, unfortunately. But blown away. I'm blown away by what I just saw, and I'm sure we all had the same reaction, especially with the ending. But as always, I'm your host, Emile Ennis Jr., and I'm joined here with my 3 amazing co-hosts and a special guest, but I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Kellie.
I'm Miriam.
And I'm Bamm, Ericsen.
And once again, we have the great Andra Fuller, who plays Kaldrick King, in the studio with us.
I like that title. The great Andra Fuller. I'm going to start introducing myself to people like that. How you doing? I'm the great Andra Fuller.
You might as well. I mean, the way you portray your character on the show, I mean, you're a great actor.
I appreciate that.
Great actor.
That's huge praise.
And you're definitely one of the reasons why the show has been getting so much credit and praise, even though the fans, or I guess hasn't been getting as many views as we would like, but you're definitely one of the reasons why it grew in the numbers. And I want to highlight quickly, I read somewhere last week when Tariq came back, it was a series high.
I didn't know that.
It was up to 800 and something thousand for that hour.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that. I tend to stray away from checking on the numbers. So
that was a good one, though.
So I can keep my blood pressure down.
But it's been getting such amazing reviews from TV critics and all of that. So that's one thing that's really great, because sometimes it's backwards. You know, the shows get tons of viewers, but they get slammed by the critics. And this is kind of the reverse of that, which is actually nice to see, because they're taking it for the art and the great storylines and the writing that it really is, and the acting from all of you guys. I mean, there's some, aside from you, there's some other great characters, and you guys just really, hold that show together and, make us want to go back and see more and more and more, especially after this. We have to have a season 3. Like,
Absolutely.
There's no way that they're going to leave us with just this.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I tip my cap to the rest of my cast and the directors and producers and writers, of course. I'm just a piece of the puzzle. It's not just Andra Fuller, who's a standout actor. When you watch the show, it's just phenomenal acting across the board. Even from like just the guest stars all the way to the series regulars. We all do a phenomenal job. So it's kudos to the rest of my cast.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I mean, and that's, that brings us to some of the newer characters that we weren't necessarily in love with when they first, came in, because, we fell in love with the, you guys. So when we, people were stealing the sun, the shine away from you, we're getting kind of mad.
I understand.
So, like Simon and Beth. Oh, Simon and Beth.
No. You don't have to make that noise anymore, because after last week's episode, I told you I teared up. They grew on me.
I'm going to tell you, honestly, Beth's character, I think she did, I think she did a phenomenal job this episode, really showing her pain, the things that she went through. And I mean, it could have gone a little cheesier way, and she didn't do that. And it hasn't been my favorite, but she really, I think, stepped it up in this episode and was great. with losing her brother, the struggle, of all that they were going through. I thought it was great. So kudos to her.
I will agree. I thought she did really good, and I was able to understand where she was coming from because like Beth said. The dad just left him in the car in the parking lot with $20 and a box of cereal, and then you just leave and you just desert them, and then she's stuck to have to fend for her and her little brother for 6 months, and then you just want to show up like everything is cool, and just like the dad's whole demeanor, like he was a total ass. So I totally understand where she was coming from, and I liked her more than I normally did.
Right.
Well, I liked her character in this episode, and even though what her dad did, ultimately the underlying issue was the fact that they didn't know how to deal with the loss of the mother, and so he didn't handle it very well. I mean, luckily in the scenario, he was only gone for 6 months. He had 6 months to get it together. It's not like he disappeared for 20, 30 years.
Right.
And then decided to be like, hey, I want to be a part of your life, which we've seen with your storyline. It's like, you have been part of my life for a long time.
Right.
So I can understand why, he got his head twisted on properly. He went out there, he got a job, and he's like, now it's time for me to man up and handle my family.
But he should have manned up and said something 6 months ago. Like, okay, something's not going right. You just don't leave your... I mean, it's one thing. Beth is a little bit older, so she would be able to understand, hey, things are not going well. I'm going to need you to look after you and your brother for a while, and I'm going to get myself to... He could have said something. Just don't leave him in a...
He dumped him in a parking lot. Like, went in the store and, never came back.
So
wait in the car. See you later.
He made a bad decision, but I do applaud him because I understand where he was coming from as far as with Beth. He clearly almost lost the relationship with her. He was saying, I still have a chance with my son.
Yeah.
My son's still this young little boy, and I was only gone for 6 months. Yes, I did this bad thing, but he doesn't necessarily understand how bad it was because you were there to take care of him.
Right. And then just even how he went about it last week when he kept wanting to take the boy to go do things. Oh, one audition's not going to kill. Let's go to the park. Let's do this. Like you can see that he had ulterior motives. He wanted to take the son back, and just even the way that he did it was just really dirty.
Yeah.
So, and I can't believe I'm actually defending
Beth.
But
you know what? A lot of people, I know a lot of people shared the same sentiments of not being too fond of Beth and Simon's characters to start off with. However, I would say in their defense, as we all know, we live here in Los Angeles and in Hollywood. It's not just about adult actors, adult actresses. There's millions of kids.
Right.
So I thought it was a great idea for our show to show what happens for kid actors. So that offered, besides the storyline that we're discussing now about the father abandoning them and coming back and trying to basically pull rank and take the kids back, but we got to peek into the livelihood of child actors, and that's to me, that's a fascinating world because you have to juggle school and tutoring, and the parents have jobs or they don't have jobs. So if your kid doesn't book any work, do you not have money because you're not employed?
Did we ever figure out, did Simon go to school?
I was gonna say Simon never went to school. So was season 2 the summertime, and so maybe he was in.
It was summer. It was
okay. So that will explain why he never went to school.
But you're right, because we got to see some stage moms. We got to see how the producers interact with the parents by sending them home in the one episode. So as the storyline started to develop, then I started to see how it fit in. Because no, she didn't necessarily fit with everyone else, but it still showed the struggles of being in Los Angeles from a different side.
Right.
So it did ultimately fit with the whole thing.
I always had your back, Beth. Always had your back.
Well, now we see that she's going to go to the Yukon to continue her college career.
Well, I like that.
Or start, I should say.
Well, it's time for her to start her own life, which is really nice. And if it wasn't for Cameron coming into the picture and being supportive there, pushing her to take her SATs, her scoring really high on them, everything happens for a reason. And the fact that the dad came back, now she gets to live her life. She's 18 years old. She has no business being with a 10-year-old kid. No business. Be 18, go to school, have fun, be crazy, go sit outside with the band and rock out.
Do a sex tape in the library.
And what's really interesting was that there was a couple times where she actually had, when he went on that audition where he was gone all that time, she got it in real quick.
She needs more time to get it in. It shouldn't have to be.
She did a few times.
Well, she didn't have. Well, now she doesn't have to do it so quick. She can pace things out and enjoy life, and so, as unfortunate as the situation was or is, it actually is going to work out in her favor, and so for that, I'm very happy for her.
Well, let's talk about Nick and Sabrina. Which
I love them.
The couple I've grown to love.
I love them. I mean, they feed off of each other, and it's sweet.
Well, we started this episode where Nick was telling her that he had this gig to go to, and it's this party with all these big wigs and stuff. And then we get there and we see he's in a bunny costume. What was his name? Barnsworth P. Bunnington.
Yes.
But he got paid $500 for the gig, which I was like, I would do that on the weekend for some extra money.
Let's talk about his act that he was going to use in front of 12-year-old children.
Okay.
Choking out.
So he didn't have the material prepared. But what I liked was after he adjusted his jokes for that audience, he then brought in some of his older material that we thought was really corny at first, but it worked for that particular audience, like the paper bag routine.
Oh, yeah.
But it was funny in that context. So I really like how he recycled that material.
Of all my bags, my favorite bag, and the other bags know that it's my favorite bag. He ain't even scared. I love that. I'll tell you guys the secret about that scene after the show. I can't tell you on camera.
Okay.
Oh, say that for the after show.
Yeah, for the after the buzz.
But what I really liked about the growth of his character is how he was able to adapt to his environment.
Mm-hmm.
He saw that there was a bunch of teenage girls. You mentioned Justin Bieber and you mentioned Taylor Lautner, and that's pretty much all you need. And so he was able to adjust to his environment. So you can see that he's grown as a comedian. Although he didn't, do what Beth had said about, making sure that you're going to do your stand-up every day. He's still grown. He still grew as a comedian because he was able to adapt so quickly.
Right. But one of the things is, if we go to their relationship though, Nick and Sabrina, like you were talking about, they support each other all the time. And so it's nice to see them support each other with this particular situation where Sabrina had the audition for the Will Arnett thing and she was waiting for the call back. Then she gets the call back, she finds out that she has the job. And then we have this whole thing where they're arguing, trying to figure out, they had the cute little thing trying to figure out the long distance thing. But when they had the argument and she was saying, you can't come with me, she said an important thing I think a lot of people don't realize out here when she was talking about the grind. Yes. And she said, you don't grind hard enough. And she wasn't talking about sexually. She was talking about as far but she was talking about as far as her career or his career goes. Just to be clear.
Wrong characters.
If we're talking about Abby, but she was saying you don't grind hard enough, and that's the truth out here. If you really are trying to make it in your particular profession, especially in certain professions like comedy, you have to be at it every single night. It's not something that you can do in the passing.
And that's so true.
You can't just do it on weekends.
So true.
No, it's interesting when that was probably one of my favorite highlights of these episodes, aside from the other storylines. But like when she broke it down like that, it almost made me remember, like, oh snap, I am not here to be dating anybody. I am here to pursue a career in XYZ.
Time to get busy, get back on track.
Sometimes you need somebody to kind of throw you back into that focus. And with her, she constantly does that with him, which is why he's able to grow as a comedian, which is why he's able to adapt, because he's been thrown into these situations and she's made it absolutely difficult for him to not step up. She's forced him to step up.
Right.
And so for her to sit there and say all of that to him, I love that. I mean, Alicia's theory sounded great in theory, like move there to, move to New Orleans for 10 months and you don't have a job and what do you have to lose? You have a lot to lose.
And before I was gonna say the one line he said, "I'm young, unemployed. I have nothing." Like, no, buddy. This is your time to focus.
Beth's character, the past couple of weeks, she really just.
Oh, you mean Sabrina?
Sabrina.
Oh, you love Beth. You love her. You thinking about her.
Well, Sabrina's character for the past couple of weeks has kind of annoyed me because I felt that once Nick's became more successful, she seemed to be a little bit more bitter, and she seemed to be a little more not supportive in so many ways, and she kind of was a brat.
Yeah.
But once she made that the speech in regards to, you need to be on your grind. At first, I thought when she was making a speech, that was just her way of basically saying, screw you, I'm about to do my thing and don't come with me. But it was until she said that, you need to be on your grind. She kind of cleared it up, because otherwise I would have thought that she was just being selfish.
I know, I heard you sitting behind me talking smack.
Well, it's not so much that she's even being, her character was never selfish. I think that the fact that here Nick comes in, is totally lazy about things, doesn't know what he's doing, and she knows about the grind. She's been in LA lying to her parents for 2 years, doing
extorting money.
The grind.
$80,000.
Right.
She's been grinding and grinding. Here Nick comes along, steals her materials. She's pissed off about that. Steps up and almost gets the same job that she's up for. Yeah, of course she was a bitter, biatch, because she had every reason to be. He had no clue until she spelt it out to him, and the whole condom sitting on the.
But he loved the condom thing. Okay, and that was another reason, because it seemed like she was starting. Sometimes when girls, they want to purposely start arguments to get guys going.
She bought them. They're hers.
No,
What?
Throw them out. Throw them away. Throw them out.
She spent money on them. She doesn't make that much right now. She didn't have a job. She's going to take what's hers.
She's running out of money.
Typical girl defend her, but like he said, if he would have kept the condoms, you guys would have had a complete hissy fit.
Well, they should have just thrown them out, like you said, throw them in the pool.
Why is he looking through her bag?
Let's be real about the situation.
The suitcase was open.
Let's be real about it. Condoms, what you can get, like a 32-pack for $12.
Right.
So whether you take the condoms or not take the condoms, it's not going to deter the fact that if he's going to move on or she's going to move on. Come on.
Well, speaking of moving on, he didn't move on because he's going to LAX.
No.
No.
So you got
what did I miss?
You didn't pay attention.
What I miss?
So in that whole scene where there's 3 cabs being called.
Yeah.
One person was going to LAX.
Oh, he went to the comedy club.
Yeah.
No.
I thought you figured. Okay.
When I was watching it, because they were doing so much at the end, I was trying to comprehend it all. I thought it was like a flashback or something.
No, it was the illusion that he was gonna go. That he was gonna go, but then it was Abby, because Abby showed up.
That leads
right into
the.
I'm embarrassed to say that at the beginning when we first started doing this after show, I said I most identified with Abby. Because I was like, she's a struggling person. She just moved here, like all this. I completely want to disassociate myself with her because Abby is this naive, just confused girl who just has a lot going on up here, and it's not good things. It's just not good things. But I mean, obviously, I was in love with Cassie Steele from Degrassi.
And that's what it was.
Yeah, and I think that's what did it for me. But as far as her character goes, I'm still confused about this Abby Gray situation because she fell for him so fast.
But she's fell for everybody on the show. That she's a you can look at it one way. She's a hopeless romantic
slut, or
that could be another way, or perhaps she's just looking for love in all the wrong places.
All the wrong places. On the rooftop.
I mean, in the first episode where she's like buying the morning after pill, and it just was downhill from there.
I mean, but with this whole thing, in this episode or within I'll combine the 2 episodes as one finale. She loses her agent Ron, which granted he wasn't that great of an agent anyway.
Well, I mean, he had a valid point. He has definitely a future selling mattresses than he does.
Everybody needs a mattress. When he said that, I was like, damn, that's real talk. Everybody doesn't need an agent. Everybody needs a mattress.
That's very true. But he got her the audition for this commercial, and apparently the audition was for an ethnic girl. Was that right?
It was either one girl,
it was like beautiful girl or ethnic friend.
Oh yeah,
we'll take you as the ethnic friend. God.
And it was kind of when she went to the audition, and she kind of got upset because they said follow the pin, and she was like, okay, that's it. I don't need to read the sides or anything.
It's a commercial. Girl.
It's a commercial, but also she doesn't understand her place. Like, you don't have any power in the situation, and you're not really in the right to say anything in that situation. I understand she wants to. It goes back to when she was on Saving Grace, when she said something to Alan Thicke's character, and she just ruined everything. Her mouth gets her in trouble.
Yes.
All the time.
But also that was really real, because sometimes, I mean, that's how harsh it can be. She walks in a room, they don't like the way you look, get out. We don't have time to explain to you anything. If you're not right, you're not right. That's just kind of how it goes. It's not. We're not here worrying about your feelings because it's not personal.
No, it's a real scenario. Mm-hmm. It's real time. I mean, as people in the entertainment industry in this room, we've all been at that audition where it's like you sit and there's like at least 50 people that you're seeing, they're seeing probably 3 times the amount of that. They're exhausted, they're cranky, and they don't want to waste their time. And that's something that's to be said about the entertainment industry and how this show portrays it in its very most real way.
And then afterwards, if you guys notice, he was like 5'7", really, because he felt like it was a waste of his time. She wasn't even the right fit for that part. So
yeah, it's like, bye, thank you.
You can't flub on your resumes.
In what world are you 5'7"?
Right.
So her career is failing, but let's talk
Happens
about
every day. Happens every day. I'm actually 6'2" and a half, according to my headshot.
Nice.
But let's talk about Abby and Gray.
Yes.
The Zach Morris lookalike. So with this, they got married, and then they got it annulled, and then they got back together so she could get her green card. Was that right?
Well, no. Well, what the situation was,
She's acting like she's in love. She just wants the green card.
Well, no. I mean, she liked him and missed him, 2 episodes ago, 3 episodes ago.
Right after they met.
And she just is one to fall really hard, really quickly. And so the whole progression of everything moving as fast as it did, I'm not surprised by it, honestly.
Well, and he was moving just as fast as she was. And honestly, she's the one that kind of put on the brakes and wanted to rethink things. And then they go through the whole... And where does he get all this money?
He's in the service. In your military, they get paid pretty nicely.
So he's $500 for an annulment, however much $100 for the wedding, and like all of these, like bam, 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 the hotel room, like all that.
In the annulment scene was funny how she like reached towards her purse, like she was gonna do anything. She's like, "Do you want me to?"
Am I supposed to contribute?
That's in good form, and
that is. You always go for the reach, ladies. Good job, Abby.
I've witnessed the reach on several dates. Bill comes and, oh, you got it? Oh. You sure? Well, I'll leave a tip. No? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know you was going to pay.
I wish there was a smoother way of doing that.
I know. But see, don't you appreciate the gesture that we don't automatically assume that you got it? Isn't it better than just sitting there like,
okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
I'll meet you at the car.
But go ahead.
No, so I feel that with her character and their situation, like, sure, they were, when he said to her, look, we don't have to do anything about this right now. Like, I'll get more money by being in the service and you being my wife. You can do your career and not have to worry about, trying to make $100 here and $100 there, as he was trying to do during when they were doing that little.
Yeah, he's going to send her money.
Yeah. And then it was revealed that she needed a green card. So it was also...
It's a win-win.
Let's keep it real.
But the fact is it's not like they don't like each other, because then you cut to them being inside the bathtub, really taking the moment to get to know one another.
And
right.
I think we've all been in situations where that we've done and we've said certain things in the heat of the moment because it just happens. Maybe not to the extent of getting married, but... I think we've all said something, or we're just in heavy lust and like or love or whatever you want to call it.
Sometimes you just gotta go with your gut.
Yeah, sometimes you just get caught up with it and
up.
Good one.
There's nothing wrong with it.
So I'm somewhat defending Abby.
Yeah, you know, it's okay. You're young, you're in love, whatever. Go for it. You know, what's the worst that can happen? You finally get divorced one day.
Right.
Whatever.
And then
you get your green card.
Yeah, and then once she finally wakes up and she realizes what she did, she realized that she made a mistake.
Right. But maybe not, you know?
Maybe not.
At the end of the episode, where is she? She's on the plane trying to get to Germany.
Well, I thought it was really sweet because she was, she does care about him. They do very quickly love one another. They decided to stay committed to one another. They are intimate, so it's not a sham.
Right.
And the fact that, she's sitting there missing him and all this stuff is happening at the complex and she goes to lay down to think about him, there he leaves yet another sweet thing behind for her to kind of have. So I like the idea of
the voice notes.
The voice notes, because, I'm really bad.
I'm stealing that.
Seriously, I'm like,
it's already in my repertoire.
So bad at writing letters. I'm like, that's a great idea. Wait, can I just text you my voice memo? Honey, I miss you. Siri, hook it up.
No, that was really cute.
It was really cute, but guys, you can't leave us voice memos if you're watching. But what you can do is go to iTunes, and when you get to iTunes, search for the LA Complex After Show, and I want you to leave a comment. Rate 5 stars, please. Subscribe, and also share with your friends, Facebook, Twitter, message boards, wherever you can. Get the word out. Let them know Andre's on this episode, and let them listen to all of our past great episodes. And we're just so excited for the great season we had and the the comments. But we're still 5 stars right now, and the people who have left comments and all of our Twitter fans, and just so appreciative for the support for this show. There's also a podcast app though, and if you go to the App Store, there's a podcast app that will put all your podcasts into one neat little app. And if your friends aren't necessarily into the LA complex, there's tons of other after shows that AfterBuzz TV has, and the fall lineup just started, so you can check those out. But we want to focus on the LA complex, so even if they don't watch the show, still rate 5 stars. And I can't forget our YouTube fans. We do appreciate our YouTube fans too. Please continue to leave comments and rate on there, but also go to iTunes. But let's get to the next storyline.
Connor and
hot mess number one.
Connor and Charlotte.
See, I knew there was something shady about that girl.
First of all, I mean, she did him a huge favor. So initially they open up with him going. Wait. You gotta rewind to the first episode of the 2. No.
Oh, she did my huge favor.
Shame on all of you. This is not for this show, at least. No, she did him a huge favor when he got arrested for the arson of burning down his place. She was like, no, I can't let him, go down like this. She tried getting in touch with these Scientology, Scienetics people to get him out, and last minute she just kind of jumped in there. She's like, I'm just gonna go and do it and say that I did the same thing too. It helped him. Because he was sitting there stumbling in that interrogation room, and there was no way that he was going to get out of that.
Well, then Scienetics came and saved the day.
Yes. And so here, this is stuff that he's introduced to her, or no, that she's introduced to him, that have helped him grow, that have helped him heal, even though it's not exactly the most sane way about going about things. I prefer a therapist.
But I have to say, it is helping his character seem to be more vocal about how he feels. He's not so shut in, and he seems to be a little bit more comfortable within himself. And then she has to go and make out with him.
Well, it's the fact that he's never... They've never been close in that connect. I mean, it's kind of gross and very incestuous.
But I mean, do you really get that overwhelmed? I mean, is it possible to get that overwhelmed with emotion of your sibling? I get it. They haven't been around each other and whatever, but still, I mean, I don't know.
They barely know each other, and to throw "I love you" out there and not barely know anyone can be very confusing.
But how is it confusing to know that that's your brother? I mean, I'm your sister. That's your brother. That's not confusing. You're born to love each other.
But not the way they kissed like that.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, how did she get confused to think that?
Well, let me just say, first of all,
I think it's Scienetics.
Absolutely.
Dun.
And then they try to come in like, no, let's separate the two of them. We don't work like that. It's probably them.
I've never thought. I've always thought something was shady with Charlotte's character. Maybe it will be revealed in season 3 that maybe she's not his real brother, but
they have the DNA. Yeah, they have the DNA test.
They just have a few screws loose. I mean, here you have two people that their parents separated in not the most real, or not in the.
But she didn't even remember her dad, though. I think her mom was just nuts.
Well, she was an infant.
She was the baby.
She was an infant when they left. So here they had this big separation. They know about each other, but there's no way they can get in contact with one another. And then while they're going through this process, the mother commits suicide, the father's an alcoholic, Connor deals with the alcoholic, she deals with the death of the mother. There's a lot of damage there.
But I still don't see how that constitutes making it. It
doesn't make sense to me.
It's not supposed to.
I saw it coming though in that scene. I knew she was gonna kiss him. So you could see it coming.
Yeah.
I was watching it at my house with a friend of mine. And she said, why is she looking at him like that? And I knew what was going to happen. Yeah. So I was like, oh, no, you're just imagining things. I was trying to downplay it. And then she's like,
I mean, I get it. There's a lot, and maybe Scienetics is screwing them even looser, unscrewing them more. But I don't know.
I just did not like the storyline once this whole Scientology.
Well, now
I never liked the storyline once. The Krista Allen character. And
I like the Krista Allen thing.
I thought the Scienetics storyline is freaking awesome.
I think it's the best ever. They're getting so into it.
So many misconceptions and so many questions about Scienetics, and when you drive right down the street from here and you see the building with the real name on it, and when you see them when they approach you on Hollywood Boulevard and they start asking you those personality questions, and it's something. It's. I don't want to use the word weird because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's definitely. It's outside of the norm.
It's unusual method.
Yeah, it's never been explored on TV before.
But I do agree with you. It is weird because I've had to go into the building and I've had to interact with the people, and they are very weird.
Well, the thing is, I do
the way they speak to you and ask you questions. Hi, how are you doing?
I've never encountered any of them, and that's why I appreciate the storyline, because even last week when you guys were telling me you have to pay to get into it, I didn't even know that was part of the process. So even living in LA, I didn't know anything about that particular group because I've never actually wanted to explore that group because it always freaked me out.
They'll find you.
Honey.
Well, y'all gonna find me.
Well, and then he called, and then the words that they use, and I like how Connor calls them out. What do these words mean? What are you talking about? So it really does dig deep into that religion a little, definitely more than I've seen on television.
The way we depicted it was actually very accurate because we hired, as a consultant for the show, we hired one of the actual authors of the book they use. So like when you see Connor filling out the questionnaires, and those are actual questions and they're very specific. And it's a big packet of questions that they ask you, and so you got to see some real life depiction of the types of things that they look for.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely anxious to see what's going to happen now that they sent her away to Colorado to some, institute where she can get better and not have these
they killed her
negative thoughts. They're going to cleanse her mind so she comes back a better person.
This is
Good luck.
This is once again one of those storylines that makes it that much more of a reality of what happens in Los Angeles. I mean, people read in the tabloids all the time about all these different celebrities going into these Scientology. Let's just say what it is. Yeah. Going to Scientology, and people.
It was nice knowing you.
You're done. I'm done, right?
You said the word. You are done.
But you have people like Sweet Emile and honey, like seriously, in Georgia, they don't know about this kind of crazy,
right.
and it's not craziness. It's every religion is labeled by each individual as crazy. Christianity to some people,
we don't understand it,
right?
Judaism to some people, Scientology to some people,
the
Buddhists,
Mormons, like all of that.
Jehovah's Witnesses, like everyone, my family would be like, oh my God, a Jehovah's Witness is at the door. They're crazy, and it's not really that.
Don't anybody move.
We used to do that in my house.
Close the curtain. Close the curtain.
Turn the TV down right quick.
But it's just one of those things where it highlights another thing that we don't understand.
Right. And people do automatically associate crazy with, if you don't understand it, it's crazy. We're not even going to ask questions. It's just crazy. Absolutely.
Oh, what? Oh, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what's good about this show, is opened up your mind about a lot of things, and it helps you understand things that maybe you didn't want to explore.
Right, absolutely.
I agree with that, but still didn't.
All right. Well, let's talk about Raquel then. Raquel.
Now that was crazy.
Yes.
Poor Mark. Oh, Mark.
We saw this coming though in a way.
Know, but
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see that him getting arrested. I didn't see that coming.
No, I thought she was gonna get busted.
But as far as their whole relationship happening and hookup or whatever that thing was, we all saw that coming. But the funny thing was with the whole Raquel thing, Raquel and Manny, was that his name?
Yeah.
The dishwasher. So he comes in there in his bright yellow pants and
he was looking like
leather jacket.
He was looking like the guy from LAMFO.
Yeah.
LMFAO mixed with Infinite Jest.
Yes.
That's what he looked like. But he comes in there, he almost blows the cover, and Mark begins to get a little suspicious as far as where he's getting all this money from.
Because he said exactly, did I give him a raise without knowing?
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously that's causing some tension for Raquel.
I mean, he showed up with the DeLorean. He didn't show up with the Ferrari.
I know. That's what I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, the car's really old.
It was because it was an old car.
That car is straight from 1988. And everybody's like, oh, fancy car. The doors go like this.
Exactly. That's the only reason he said something, because the doors went up. That's the only reason he said something. But he said it was a used car. We found out it's a used car. He did make enough money. And, Raquel was like, oh, I need a raise from, your cut, because obviously we can afford that. I need more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not really that nice of a car.
That was kind of funny, that part.
But it was what's funny.
But, yeah.
But it was a way for Raquel to up the ante. So it was alluded that he had more money. So she was like, okay, if you have enough money to, have this fancy car and wear these fancy clothes, then I want she's an opportunist.
Well, she gets bold, and then she comes back later and says, I want out of this because obviously Mark's getting suspicious. She's getting closer to Mark. And no, that was after she slept with Mark in his office. So then she's like, okay, I have to cut ties.
But another thing was when Raquel and Manny had the conversation right outside
his
the
door.
office.
Yes, right outside his door.
I know. But,
restaurants are noisy.
It's noisy. They didn't hear anything. They're whispering. They're good. They're good.
I don't buy that.
It was the whole handing over in front of the door that was not the brightest thing.
Well, and the thing with her character, she's been kind of going back and forth with her conscience, this season. It's like she'll do something bad and then she'll rethink it. But she'll still do something bad and then she'll rethink it. So maybe she's kind of coming around. And I'm really curious to see what's going to happen now that Mark gets arrested because she and Manny wanted to make some extra cash.
I think he's going to start to put 2 and 2 together. 2 and 2 and 3.
He has to.
I mean, the guy, the older gentleman complaining about she swiped the credit card twice. And then if you notice, he saw the thing in the bag as they were putting it into, I forget what that's called.
But you
into the evidence bag.
Yes.
Yeah. But you also have to remember Raquel. She's very good at covering her tracks. So will she?
But she's like what, the only bartender at at some time of the day.
But will she fess up or will she lie her way out of it?
They'll be able to figure it out. Yeah. They'll figure it out somehow. But let's talk about Connor and Raquel though, and the whole movie premiere.
The trailer, so cute. I think they did a great job with that.
And our favorite band was playing. We're not fans of the band.
No?
Emile is not fan.
I gotta admit. I know Martin when he wrote the script and he thought to have a house band. This is the band that he originally had in mind. I'm more partial to the band we had from season 1.
Yeah,
I thought they were awesome.
Yeah.
So.
I have to agree. This band annoys me. Hate to say it, but but it was nice to see the movie trailer and see that finally come into fruition, and it actually looked interesting. I was surprised, and I can't wait to see where that storyline goes. But also, we saw that Connor and Raquel still obviously have a thing for each other.
Oh, of course they do.
Right.
And the fact that Connor was honest about, he took the bandages off. She's like, "What happened to you?" And he was like, "I used to burn myself." Man, like a week ago, still he used to burn himself.
I don't anymore.
Right.
So there's been a lot of growth with him. They're obviously still attracted to one another. And the fact that they did this trailer together and it looked really amazing. And, as much as we were kind of like, what's up with these USC students and their little project? But it really showed that side of the entertainment industry of, these college kids come out here, they go to film school, they go to all these lengths to become directors and producers and stuff like that, that now here they got to highlight that and show that some people can be successful while doing
on
these
their
things.
own, doing it in guerrilla style. It can still look nice.
Guerrilla style.
Because when you have skills, you have skills.
Exactly.
And speaking of skills, we have to get into your storyline.
Oh,
it was just, twists and turns and so many things.
And tears.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of tears.
Lots of tears.
Oh,
Who cried? Who cried?
I-
Let's be
I-
honest.
I cried.
Raise of the hands. Who
I
cried?
cried.
I cried.
I did.
You cried.
Okay, I teared up.
All right.
I teared up.
Man, we don't cry. We tear up.
No, but even after this show, though,
Your
I
letter-
feel like that's not even relevant anymore because this kind of helps you explore. Like, you don't have to be this tough character like all the time.
Yeah. That's the great thing because it goes through all of those emotions. We see, you struggle with it. And and this whole, since the relationship with Tariq, we've kind of seen you come out, more, the character kind of be a little bit more like centimeter by centimeter, being more and more comfortable being who he is.
Right.
And just holding hands in the hospital, like in the waiting room, like outside the hospital door, I thought was a big step.
Yeah.
Just,
huge step.
doing that.
Yeah. This, for the most part, this season was more so about redemption for Kaldrick. One of the challenges was how can this animal who did such a horrible thing to the person that he loves, how can he come back in a positive light, for this season? So I tip my hat to Martin and Brandon and the rest of the writers because they did a great job of letting Kaldrick redeem himself, episode by episode until the finale, and people were actually empathetic with Kaldrick. They felt for him. Nobody felt anything bad for Kaldrick when Tariq left and said he wanted to go back to Montreal, and he was crying, saying, please don't leave. Nobody felt for him. Everybody's like, that's what you get.
Right.
But now, people are, sympathetic and
right. Well, we have a question from one of our Twitter followers that's at Boy Marvel, and he was wondering, like, what was that the whole point of the switch between the main character going from Tariq to your character, to Cal's character, to show that redemption and to kind of drag that storyline out longer? No,
not at all. Realistically speaking, for our writers pride themselves on giving a real life depiction of things that occur in Los Angeles. So it would be somewhat fake. I mean, for what it is, if Kaldrick beat up Tariq and then Tariq comes back and says, I'll take you back.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That wouldn't be realistic. So if you're going to be realistic, you have to show wholeheartedly the journey that Kaldrick has to go on in order to get to the point where he can have a meeting with Tariq and say, hey, that's who I used to be. I'm not like that anymore. I'm sorry I hurt you. I wish I could take it back. I can't, but I'm just,
right.
It has to be a journey to get to that point, because those words will fall on deaf ears if he just went back right after,
it would have been too easy.
I was going to say, that's what happened to me last week. I was so upset with how that happened. But then when we talked to Gerard last week, and I had to deal with, I should say, the fact that you moved on to this lawyer dude, because we all got invested in Tariq Cal's situation. People were treating his name is Christopher on the show. Yeah. People were treating Christopher like you guys were alluding to Beth. It's like, who is this? He up to something. Well, I don't trust him. Even on our YouTube comments from last week's episodes, there's so many people who were saying, oh my God, we hate your character and all that stuff. But at the same time, what we talked about last week is the fact that Cal is growing, and what he did to Tariq was horrible, but Tariq helped him grow. And he even said that, Tariq, you helped me grow. And he has to move on with his life, and this new guy.
But do you think that your character moved on too quickly?
That's debatable, but not really, because Kaldrick didn't seek out Christopher. Kaldrick was in a situation where this kid, Infinite Jest, was doing ridiculous things to get his attention, and it just so happens that his lawyer was Christopher, who just so happens to be gay, who just so happens to had some kind of hint that Kaldrick may be gay, and came on to him. Kaldrick didn't pursue him, so it was one of those kind of things that he somewhat fell into that situation. But it was a positive situation for him, because the way Christopher's character is somewhat the opposite of Tariq. Christopher don't take the BS that Kaldrick puts out. He's confident in who he is. He's comfortable with his skin, his sexuality, much like Tariq was, but on a more mature level. He's very grown the way he carries himself.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and one of the things that I do like about Chris's character is he puts you in your place. Yeah. And I get a sense that your character kind of likes it, because you're challenged. You're this big rap star, and no one talks to Cal, any kind of way. And I think that your character kind of likes that, because he's different than from your other relationships, whether if it's a guy or girl.
I wouldn't say he more so likes that. He respects it.
Okay.
You earn a person like Kaldrick, you earn his respect, and you have him.
Well, one of the things that I really like about this show is the fact that it's not always the series regulars who have the breakout performances. And this last episode, what I really enjoyed was Donna's performance when she discovered that you were gay.
Now, we debated this, because we watched it, and we actually rewatched it a couple times. I didn't quite. He said, he was like, I caught it, but I had to rewind it a couple times. Where there was a thing where when Donna walks in and you hold her hand, and then as soon as Christopher comes in, you threw it away. But I didn't think that was like a blatant sign that she figured out, oh my God.
It was because
Christopher walks up with like 2 sandwiches,
and
it's
the eye connection.
Whole,
it was everything.
It was a total moment.
But why couldn't they just be?
It wasn't just a friends thing, not the way they were looking at each other.
No, that was pretty blatant.
If your friend came up, if my best guy friend came up, there's no reason why I would stop holding this girl's hand immediately like that.
And basically stop talking.
Right.
Kaldrick clammed up. He's like, this is Donna. You could tell.
Yeah, it was definitely awkward. There was tension.
We didn't do our jobs.
It's just like when you get caught cheating. This is
you don't know.
I don't cheat.
Throw him under the bus.
I don't date. But
Yeah, there was definitely an awkward tension in that little triangle there for a second.
I saw that. I noticed it was awkward, but I didn't think that.
And plus, we have good intuition about things. Women, we can sense things.
Something's just
Just because we
right.
don't necessarily want to believe it sometimes doesn't mean we don't sense it.
And then when Christopher came around the corner, Christopher didn't come around the corner like, hey, who's this? Christopher came around the corner like,
yeah.
He did kind of give her the look like
he looked. Yeah, he gave her the
sized her up.
stank eye. We call it the stank eye.
Like, who are you? Who's
Yeah,
this?
exactly.
Now, another thing is
that was funny. I hope they got that. 'Cause you was,
Harpo, who this woman?
No, you didn't.
another thing though, on a more serious note, with your father's death and that whole situation, even before that, we predicted. I know a couple of us predicted that he was going to die, but we were trying to figure out whether or not you were going to tell him that you were gay or your character was gay before that happened. And there was a point, like I started tearing up in the first time you're in the room when I thought you were going to tell him, and then you didn't. I was like, oh man, that was a tease. And then the second time when you found out that he had another stroke, I thought maybe you're going to tell him then, but then you didn't. Why do you think, Cal? Because I remember the Abyss, you told the Abyss.
Yeah, but how can he?
Yeah.
Your dad, he wanted to tell him when he initially had the stroke. He wanted to tell him, and he was going to tell him. For whatever reason, couldn't bring himself to do it. Maybe he saw the pain in his dad's eyes. The dad had the tear going down, down his face. It's hard to give somebody bad news when they're on their deathbed, especially the second time he relapsed and his condition was worse.
Especially when he can't talk or react or anything.
Well,
that's kind of
after the second stroke, though, there was no brain function.
Yeah, there was no time.
So he would have never really quite heard it anyway.
and it would not have made sense for him to just say it, although his dad couldn't hear, because you remember when he told the guy at the guy who was who
at
never
the
spoke
church, or at the
he got
place,
off his chest. He said something to him because he knew that he wasn't going to tell anybody. So it wouldn't have really made sense for him to tell his dad when his dad clearly can't hear, or
and it may have also been a situation where you don't want to taint if somebody's leaving this place and going on to a better space. You may not necessarily want to taint their memories.
Right.
Let them be, and the only person who's going to hurt is Kaldrick.
Right.
So sometimes you just got to just bite that bullet and just take it.
Well, before we get to that emotional letter, I want to talk about the comeback of the year, Rook.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Comeback of the year. That's hilarious.
When Big Sleeps was here, I kind of questioned sometimes his motives a little bit, and then you could truly see that that was his best friend. That was his boy. He looked out for him. And when you were in the hospital and you was like, do the drop and basically get out of my face, and Rook was like pleading, like, I want to look out for you. Like, he wanted to protect him.
Well, there was a powerful moment there too when he asked if he watched the tape, and Rook said, I've known you since since I was
basically
4.
I've known you're gay since you were 4. Man, those last 2 days of filming, I swear, emotionally draining is an understatement. I mean, just and I'm not a very emotional person, so it's hard for me to get to that emotional space. But the hospital scenes, just the tears just kept flowing, just coming in, just kept going, and I was a mess. So I mean, it was. But that moment when he said, "I've known you since you were 4."
Mm-hmm. Well, I also like how Kaldrick called him out on why he took it in the first place.
Yeah, taking the hard drive. Right.
But I thought he took it because he was looking out, since he already knew that Kaldrick was...
Kaldrick had it under control. He wasn't going to let that get out.
Kaldrick hurt him. He hurt him when he basically chose Walter over him in his eyes. That cut him deep. So he was like, you know what? Because he was there when the whole where's the hard drive conversations were happening. So he, in a sense, he's like, okay, well, if this hard drive is so important to Kaldrick that he's going through these great lengths to get it back, I'm going to take that. I got leverage. So he took it knowing what he was doing.
I just got a tweet. Someone says that they think that Rook was in love with you.
What?
Yeah, I see that all the time. I don't think that was.
I don't think that was either. I think it was more of
Love-
like a brotherly
love-
love.
on a
Yeah.
brotherly level.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think it was
You're
more
wrong,
of that.
sorry.
And he was just jealous because he felt like he stepped in when your dad didn't. And then for you to choose your dad over him, I think it was just as simple as a kid being hurt. And so he acted out and he took that to be mean.
He said it. He said, my mom's raised him more than you did.
Right.
And then he's looking at Kaldrick like, you gonna pick him over me?
Mhm.
Kaldrick's like, I'm not trying to pick anybody. I'm just trying to make things right with my dad. And you my boy, you're family too. But if
This
you
shouldn't
feel like
have
you
to
have
be a
go,
choice.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
shouldn't have to
Yeah.
be a pick me over him type of situation.
Well, now it's just turned into this such emotional thing because, you just lost your father and you're basically kicking him out of your life still, with or without your dad around. So he can't blame it on your dad anymore. It's the relationship between the two of you, and he doesn't seem to be handling it very well.
No, I mean, he cost you $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
$5 million.
Not cool.
Although I do think that it was gonna something if Rook didn't cause that ordeal, I think at some point it still would have
Well,
came
that
out.
kid was definitely going to keep taunting and taunting and taunting until,
Right.
there was something of substance to happen.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I couldn't justify the $5 million. I mean, especially
Blackmail's blackmail.
And why was there no papers or anything signed? Like they gave the money and then they just walked away.
We don't need any evidence of that, though.
What kind of contract do you sign?
I have no idea.
I promise not to say anything.
Yeah, there's no
About-
contract to be signed. It's like Stone said, we just got to take his word.
Because it's not supposed to exist anyway.
Yeah.
So you can't write a contract about something that's not supposed to be there.
I just think that, like I said, I always give the praise to the writers to start with, but I just think it was phenomenal to bring that aspect into the show because now all of a sudden our show has went into a whole different stratosphere that we have not ever been in before. Somebody's been killed. We have murder. So now we have murder suspension. Like it rolling into we're talking into existence. Rolling into season 3.
Yeah.
Like who's to blame? Is Kaldrick gonna be taken in possession? Because think about it. The last time anybody saw Infinite Jest, he was having beef with Kaldrick.
And then if he told somebody about this blackmailing scheme, if he said it to anybody, it's all going to fall back on you.
Yeah.
But on the upside, though, you have Christopher there as a witness. You were at the hospital.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's set up so it could definitely be this whole whirlwind thing. But we obviously
we could have a Dallas. Who shot JR?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely was not expecting that at the end. For Rook to go to Infinite Jest house and shoot him was a crazy twist of events for me.
I wasn't surprised by it, honestly.
No?
No,
I was surprised. I was definitely surprised.
I didn't think he was gonna kill the boy, but I was expecting.
I mean, maybe hurt him, but I didn't think he was gonna murder him.
Like in the scene, I was like, "What are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
We already beat him up.
Right.
Now what?
Now we're killers? Really? Are we?
Well, even with that though, going to the final thing. Well, before the whole shooting with the letter that you wrote. Now that was a really powerful scene, obviously for numerous reasons.
That was deep. My goodness,
that
was
really it was
deep.
quiet in the room. We had some people in the studio with us. I don't think they were crying because they don't really watch the show. But we were. Yeah, I heard Miriam back there sniffling. But it was really an emotional moment because, it's one of those things like you said. You couldn't tell your fathers, "I'm going to write to you," and you being, I'm assuming, the fans.
Yeah.
Just everyone.
And it goes back to, I remember we came back for this season for the premiere show. I said, this season is different because since season 1 wrapped, Frank Ocean came out as bi, and he did that publicly on his website. And so we saw that similar to what you did or Cal did on his website.
Yeah, we both yelled out Frank Ocean.
Yeah. But it's just, even with the similarities though, this was way more complex because we got to see the behind the scenes of what he really had to deal with, and knowing the fact that I don't think it was just his father's death that motivated us. The fact that his father died, it was the fact that Chris is pushing him in his new direction to be a man,
and everything that happened with Tariq, just all of it at once
sick
coming
of the
to a
lies.
head.
Yeah, he wants to be out in the open. Like
he's tired. Like
Right.
he's
It's
been
exhausting.
through so much. Yeah.
extremely exhausting.
And you saw the views as soon as he sent it. I mean, the views,
the flashbacks and like all that just kind of laid out your life, and it was a very powerful thing. And especially in like not going to the media, but just posting on your site is a much more personal thing to do as an artist. And I think that has a much more of an impact.
That particular scene, you guys have no idea the hundreds. I literally, my Twitter, I had over 1,000 mentions after the episode aired, and most of them were people giving their personal testimony saying that letter spoke my words that I wish I can come out and say. There's thousands, probably hundreds of thousands, millions of people possibly who are living the type of lifestyle that Kaldrick King has to live, that, being on the DL and not being able to be open with their sexuality. And I mean, it's just, for me, I couldn't even imagine like the responsibility that I had before I took this role, and now to see it on screen, that scene itself was so powerful, and it touched so many people.
Well, I think also it doesn't necessarily only appeal to people that are hard and living, the life on the DL. That across the board for many people can relate to that. Especially here. I mean, I see it with many of the girls that I work with. They live the biggest lies on the entire planet. Can't be who they are. So it applies across the board to so many people that, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That hit. It struck a chord.
It's just It's a great show. It's really important. We're excited, and very hopeful for a season 3. We can't, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us again.
Thanks for having me.
We're so excited to see where your character goes and what happens, and, with all of it. Do you have, any idea of what's going to be with season 3 at all? Any kind of rumblings or anything yet?
Nothing so far, but follow me on Twitter, Mr. Dre Fuller at Twitter, and I'll keep you guys posted as soon as I find out anything.
Awesome.
And where can we find you guys at?
You can find me Miriam Gonzalez.
Bamm Ericsen.
And me, Kellie with an IE 079.
And at Emile Ennis Jr. and ChasingLA.com. And guys, once again, please don't forget to go to iTunes, rate, comment, subscribe. And we just have to thank you once more for coming in at the last minute.
No problem.
We were definitely surprised. It was a great finale.
Yeah. Thank you for all your Twitter questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all of them. There was just 2 episodes, too much to talk about. But, leave us comments on iTunes and we'll make sure to try to get them answered for you.
Continue the conversation after the after show.
Yes, and tell all your friends.
But we love you guys. Thank you for a great season, and hopefully, we will see you for season 3 of the LA Complex.
We will. We're putting it out there.
Vibes.
I predict, yes.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host. They do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.